Hello, I'm Bradley and welcome to my channel. What a strange time of the year this is, and for anybody who knows what going through grief is like, and I know that's quite a lot of people, it seems to hit you as waves. And it seems to take you that you can cope with things, and then another time you just can't. And you know what? That's okay that you just can't. There was a beautiful verse which I came across not long after I'd lost my nan, and it was grief is love, but nowhere to go. And you know what? Sometimes I hold on to that and I think that's exactly how I feel sometimes. Faith is a huge strength to me and a huge guidance into in my life. It really, really is. My nan is my absolute world, and I lost her on the 31st of May 2021. My nan was just shy of turning 95 years of age, and I hadn't yet just turned 28. I was weeks away from turning 28. And we were actually planning a celebration for my nan's 95th birthday, and it was going to be a big family get-together. Nan hadn't been well in the last couple of years of her life. She lived with Alzheimer's disease, and I've got to be a bit, it's been a very strange couple of weeks coming up to May. Do you know what? I used to absolutely love May. And I used to really, really love June, partly because it was always around Nan's birthday, the 5th of June, and then my birthday shortly after, the 2nd of July. Now I'm one of a twin, and I grew up in the love of incredible parents. I've been blessed with the most amazing mum and the most amazing dad. And my mum's mum is my dear Nan. And always growing up, Nan was always there. Everything, anything, Nan was always there if we were unwell. If it was something to do with school, if it was a school sports day, if it was a production, whether it was a birthday, if we were visiting Nan. And she was just always there. If we went to town, if we went for a day out, it was Nan. So I grew up in that blessed environment of almost like having three parents. And I always refer to that as like that I had two mums. Nan's my best friend, absolutely my best friend. And I find it really, really difficult. I found it really, really difficult without her being here. Faith is a huge strength to me. It gives me a lot of guidance. It gives me a lot of clarity. In my weak moments, it gives me strength. In my difficult moments, it gives me comfort. And the Lord never fails me. I find it very, very difficult without my nan being here. There are a lot of times where, I'll be quite honest, I just sit there and the tears just roll. And there are other times I sit and I smile, and the memories I have and I treasure, they comfort me. Nan is always with me, and for all eternity, I'm blessed that my nan is my dear Nan. But do you know what? Through all of that, I still have moments where I think to myself, do you know what? I don't want to face the world because Nan's not by my side. And I know there will be people out there, and it always breaks my heart when I think of this, that there are people much, much younger than myself. I sit before you at 31 years of age, and I absolutely know how treasured and how blessed I was to have my nan for so long. And she had a very long life. And she had one hell of a journey as a life. She really, really did. But in my heart, it was still far too soon. And I know that seems greedy and it seems ungrateful. And I know there are people in this world who their lives are taken so, so soon and so, so far too early and far too short. And it's heartbreaking. But I think, do you know what? No matter how old somebody is, it's what they mean to you. It's the love, isn't it? It's what that person is to you. It's the bond. It's everything. My nan was born on the 5th of June 1926. Very early in her life, she knew hardship, she knew difficult times, but it never defined her throughout her whole life. She lost her mother when she was a very, very small child, and strangely enough, my nan was one of seven. And I think my nan was sort of in the middle. She wasn't the oldest and she wasn't the youngest. She was in the middle. And my father couldn't look up. Her father couldn't cope with all of the family, so they were divided out. They were divided, And you know, when my nan hit 18 years of age, she left and she joined the Women's Land Army. An incredible, so many incredible stories and an incredible time in my nan's life. And honestly, the memories and the wonderful memories. And I remember my nan showing me this picture of my nan stood with a pitchfork in the ground, and just looked so absolutely stunning from this 1940s fashion. And there was my nan glowing in this picture, working a field. Um, of course, whilst the men were at war, the Women's Land Army were there to pick up whatever was required to keep working the land and the animals. And I remember hearing stories of my nan milking cows at goodness knows what time o'clock in the morning, and working fields for sugar beet and potatoes and vegetables and machinery, and looking after the land and one thing and another, and just a very, very hard way of life. But you know what? I always remember my nan talking about it with such pride and such admiration. And I'm so truly, truly proud of the years which she was in the Land Army and her as a whole throughout her whole life. But I'm just so thankful that she had that real special time in her life, because do you know what, she would light up a room when she would talk about it, the memories she had, the people who she worked with. And when my nan was 24, she married my grandfather, and my grandfather was a mechanic in the army, as Nan was in the Women's Land Army. And I got some beautiful pictures of them in their Land Army and Army uniform attire, and their love story started from there, and they went on to have 7 children of their own. And do you know how my nan lived her life the whole way through? It was almost like that whatever Nan went through, it didn't keep her down. I'm sure it did knock her down at times, and I'm sure she felt upset at times, because a lot of people would probably resonate with that. We're having such a large family. You can well imagine, can't you? It couldn't have been easy. It couldn't have been easy. My nan and granddad had a wonderful home, very lovely, lovely home, and my nan had that house for most of her life, and it was such a lovely, lovely home, and I was so blessed as when I was a child, and lots of happy, happy times there. And then when I went to school, I got a bit older, and I would stay with my nan at weekends and throughout the school holidays and things, and my brother and I would visit, and my older brothers as well, and it was always just so magical. Nan's house was always so magical. You may think, why haven't I mentioned about my grandfather there? Well, my grandfather died when I was only 1. He was 67 when he died of cancer. So my nan looked after him throughout that whole time. And do you know what? When my nan lost my grandfather, it was almost like that she mourned him throughout the whole remaining part of her life. She was never, I don't think you ever get over anybody losing someone who you love, but my nan never seemed 100% happy afterwards. And it was almost like there was a part of her missing. And it was like she was heartbroken. And I remember many of times, actually, when I would be staying with my nan at times, and I would be upstairs, and I remember there was this song, Bridge Over Troubled Water, and whenever that would come on and my nan would look at my grandfather's picture, and she would well up in tears, and I just remember hearing and this feeling of thinking, just wow, with such a bond. And of course, every family has ups and downs, don't they? Every household has, let's be honest. But goodness me, the things, honestly, which I've been so blessed to be a part of, and conversations and memories and reminiscing over just so many wonderful things. And I remember on Saturday mornings when I used to stay with my nan when I was a very small child, and growing up into my teenage years, on a Saturday morning, it used to be almost like story time. And my nan would go back on her life, and with her sisters and brothers, and about my grandfather, and about when my mum and my aunt and my uncles were when they were all young, and it would always be different stories, and I used to love it. We used to have cups of tea and biscuits and all lovely little sort of snacks and things, and such a special time always, and I always treasure that. And sometimes my nan would do a little bit of singing from different songs and things she used to sing, my mum and her children when they were growing up, and different stories about my nan loved Vera Lynn, and all these wonderful, wonderful memories. And to think, fast forward, that all of that and all those memories, and now here I am, and it would have been my nan's birthday on the 5th of June, and lost her on the 31st of May, and she took her last breath at 12 on the 31st of May, which was a Monday that year. And here I am 4 years on, and do you know what? It feels like only yesterday. And I appreciate that I'm probably chopping and changing around conversations right now, but do you know what? Lately, my mind has been so preoccupied, and I've been just getting so upset and stressed, and it keeps me awake at night, and it is, isn't it? It's grief, and it's love, but nowhere to go. And as I say, faith is a huge, huge strength to me. It really, really is. And the Lord guides me through all difficult situations in my life, the good, the bad, the challenging. And I feel Nan teaching me, and I feel her presence, and I feel her guiding me. And bless her, she's up above with the good Lord and with my grandfather and my aunt and my uncle. And I know she's there, and that gives me a lot of comfort. And she's always in my heart. And there's still a part of me which, you know, I'll be honest, it's like being heartbroken. It is, and do you know what? I feel so frustrated, and a lot of people might be thinking, my subscribers, why are you doing this on the channel? Well, my friends, I've always been very open and honest on my channel, and my channel is all about the bumpy road of life, the ups, the downs, and it's always been like a virtual diary. And yes, I bring a lot of motivational clips and inspiration. I try to inspire people from the challenges I've been through in my own life, and I always find that through confidence is our appearance and just to keep going. So we do a lot of product reviews, we do a lot of hair reviews. We talk about having great hair and how it gives us great confidence, and it doesn't define us, whatever we're going through. Motivation to keep pushing us forward, to keep taking that step whilst we're feeling good, looking good, confident selves, and we can take on anything in this world. And you know, there's only one of you, my friends, that makes you simply amazing. Never ever forget that. And when I think back to my Nan, goodness me, what a lady she really, really was and is. I hate it when I say was. It very quickly comes to my mind that she'll always be my Nan, and for all of eternity she will always be that person. She will never ever change herself as a person. But of course, then you have to be honest, don't you, that in body, she's not right here with me. And you know that? Oh, goodness me, sometimes I've got a job to cope with that. I'll be honest, sometimes I do. And other times, I have to put on a brave face for other people, and I have to support, and I have to nurture and care and get people back to their self. I'm part of a big family, so there's always something going on, and worries and concerns and one thing and another. And there's many, many times where I just would love to take a walk over into where my Nan's house was, and just to sit there with my Nan and put the world to rights. As I say, I'm very blessed that I've got incredible parents, but sometimes being such as a big family, I don't like to, and my mum and dad would hate me saying this, but I don't like to burden them. I don't like to worry them and stress them. Whereas when I was with my Nan, it would almost be like that I could bounce things off of my mum and my dad, and then bounce things off of my Nan, and everything was equal, and it was that amazing balance. Whereas now I don't like to swamp. I've not been blessed with the greatest of health in recent years, and for actually quite a long time, in different worries, and even talking about things in my career and where I want my life to go and where I have been going. And it's just like there's so much in life I want. Well, and I do, you know, I do tell my Nan about it all the time, and in prayer I do, and I talk to her through so much, and I don't know. Do you know, there's so much I've got in my mind where I would love to catch up with my Nan about. And I always say this, it's probably very unfair to my mum. And you know, I'm always talking to my mum about my Nan, and vice versa. My mum is to me, being it's her mother, and they were always very, very close, like sisters. So sometimes it must be like ripping her heart out because it's her mum as well. Um, Sometimes I often say honestly, if I could have 5 minutes of a room and walk into a room and my Nan being sat there, if I could only have 5 minutes, if the Lord could let me have just 5 minutes. But then I quickly go on to say afterwards I probably wouldn't leave, and I'd probably barricade the door, and I'd probably stay there. Strange, isn't it, when we've lost someone who we love so much? And sometimes, you know, I'm composed about it, and I sit there and I go over things and wonderful memories, and sometimes I chuckle, and sometimes I laugh, and sometimes I smile. But sometimes I have a few tears, and sometimes I get overly stressed, and sometimes I get angry at life. But I think that's perfectly normal, isn't it? When we lose someone who we love so much, but yet time can be so cruel and pushes us forward. And I know we're blessed with all so much, and I have been blessed with an incredible life and an incredible family. But you know what, I'm going to be quite spoilt here, I'm going to be quite selfish. It still doesn't stop me from missing my nan. I'm going to say this every day. Every day, do you know, when I look at her picture and when I work at my desk, and I have difficult times at work, and I look at my nan and I think to myself, oh, goodness me, I'd give anything just to put my arms around you and just for you to tell me that it was all going to be okay. I remember as a child, and I used to get upset about different things as all kids do, and my nan would always have the right things to say. And you know what she'd always say? And you make sure that you tell them that my nan said that it's going to be okay. And it would always be like, because you've got me, it's Nan, I'm right here, right here. And you know what, even as a teenager, Crossy, this is my nan, bless her heart. My nan was a very, very glamorous lady, always. She always picked the hairdressers, she was very, very glamorous, always loved her makeup, always beautiful clothes. And very much my mum, exactly the same. And when my nan would walk into a room, you would think it was a film star. I think it was a great niece, lovely, lovely lady, and for short we always called her Suki, but her name was Susan. And she always said that when Nan ever walked into a room, it was like there was a film star when our Gwen walked in, because my nan's name is Gwendoline. And honestly, sometimes I remember crossing a road, I think it was about 13, 14, I think, and my nan would always go, catch hold of Nanny's hand. I remember one day with I seen a couple of my friends crossing, it was like this dual carriageway, the main road, with this crossing where the lights went off, and my nan automatically would always go, catch hold of Nanny's hand. And she was always so loving, so caring. Back then it would be like, oh Nan, if you know, I'd give anything. At 31, if my nan turned around and said, now catch hold of Nanny's hand, yeah, I'd never let go. Whatever you were going through in life, whether it be her grandchildren, my nan had 7 children, and heartbreakingly she lost 2 to lung cancer. And my nan had Alzheimer's, and you know, it was over about a period of 6 months that it was almost like my nan was having an emotional breakdown, but her memory was being affected. And we now know, looking back on it, that it was Alzheimer's which my nan had. And nan was about 82. But you know what, it didn't really take a hold of my nan. I mean, by 90, Nan was still very, very talkative, very chatty, but she seemed to be able to manage. And it was my mum and I were always there, my aunt not so much, my uncle not so much, and then she had a lot of family, but they didn't really come to see her afterwards for whatever reason, which they couldn't cope with the changes with my nan. But you know, whatever my nan went through, my mum and me, we used to keep her hair, how my nan always had beautiful coloured hair, and she never ever wanted grey hair, so she would do that, and she would always be done up to the nines, as my nan would say. And Nan always remained as Nan, and we had our challenges, but you know what, we would, just because she had Alzheimer's didn't mean to say that I was going to abandon her. Goodness me, no. My nan had a life, and yes, she had Alzheimer's, but she had a life, and that's what I would say to anybody with dementia. And it wasn't until about 90, 91, which my nan's communication started to slow down and she started to become a little bit more tired, but she would still always face the day. My nan broke her hip at 86, and then she broke her pelvis a couple of months afterwards but she got through all of that, you know. She got through all of that. That's how strong and tenacious and so just forward-looking constantly. It would always be handbag on shoulder, done up to the nines, facing the world. And if her children needed anything, she'd always be the first one there. I remember once, it was because my nan was getting a little bit older, and I remember my dad saying not to worry Nan, not to panic Nan, and my mum had her appendix out. And honestly, when my nan found out, oh my goodness, I remember the look she gave me, and she said, Bradley, and I would have expected better of you. And she looked at me from head to toe, and she ran upstairs to my mum, because my mum was in bed recovering. And my mum had a real rough operation. She wasn't very well from it at all. And my nan, straight away, I mean, she was in her 80s, and straight away, it was almost like my mum was a little girl, and she made sure she was okay, and she'd look after her, and that's how Nan was. And she'd done that throughout all of her children, and grandchildren. I remember when I was poorly, and Nan would always be there, and she'd know exactly what to say, she'd know exactly what to do, and sort of very old traditional ways and methods. And oh, I treasure it all. You know, if only I could go back. We always say that, don't we? We always say that. This time of year, as you could probably know, I'm probably to a lot of people just babbling, but I'm speaking from my heart here, and it's breaking, you know. And I don't want to put it out there that I haven't got people who I can talk to, because I have. I've got the most amazing mum and the most amazing dad, and I've got incredible brothers, and yeah. But you know what? There are only certain people in your life you can talk to, and for me, right away, that's mum and dad, Nan. If my brothers heard that, they'd probably be annoyed. But that's how it was. That's how it is. I've not been blessed yet to meet. Uh, I'd love to meet a beautiful soul, a beautiful wife, with a soulmate, a best friend in her. And I would love that. And hopefully that happens one day. I'd love to be married. I'd love to have children. I'd love to have a beautiful home. And do you know what? That's my own. I'm very blessed to live in a beautiful home, but it's my parents' home, the family home. So I'd love to have all of that. Honestly, sometimes. And I think what I was saying was, right up until about 1991, my nan was still very much herself. It wasn't until about 93, 94 when my nan really started to change, and it was almost like her illness really started to take hold, and she became very wore out, very tired. And that was throughout the COVID times, which was horrifically difficult. Horrifically difficult. I still managed to see her through a pane of glass. My mum and I and my brothers and whoever would see my nan would be all gowned up, masked and everything, so as you can imagine that would be really difficult. And it was. I was very blessed in where my nan lived. She had a beautiful, almost like apartment style, and she had someone who would look after her. Melanda, the lady's name was, and she used to almost look at a picture of how Nan used to style herself and her hair. So when I used to visit Nan, even throughout COVID, Nan still looked stunningly as Nan always did. And you know what? Just a smile sometimes. It would almost be, but even she was going through all of that, she'd still turn around and say, "How are you, my love?" Nan was battling Alzheimer's, and sometimes she would have really difficult days, really draining, tired days, but she'd still find it to say that. And I remember if I'd done well at work or something had happened at work and I'm still studying and I was back then, and every time I went for a milestone or achieved something, I'd always couldn't wait to tell Nan about it. Couldn't wait to tell Nan about it. Still can't. Look up to the sky sometimes on a night where all the stars and I still tell her about everything. But honestly, May, difficult, difficult time, my friend. June, difficult time. And I'm fine, don't get me wrong, I'm fine. I wouldn't have it any other way. Why would you want it all to go away? Why would you want the pain and the hurt to go away from someone who you love when they're not there with you? Why would you want that heartbreak to go? Because you love that person so much, isn't it? You wouldn't want that grief to disappear. The grandparents, my friends, they're for treasuring. They're for holding tight and never letting go. And spend as much time as you can with them. I was blessed to have the time I had with my nan. And as I say, the good Lord blessed me with a lot. He also blessed me that my dear nan will be my dear nan for all eternity. My very own land army girl. That's what we used to say, our land army girl. In the family, that's what we used to say. Our Gwen. Our Gwendoline. Do you know, my nan was awarded a land army badge by the Prime Minister Gordon Brown when we were under a Labour government. I can't remember when that was, 2008, maybe 2007. And my nan blessed me with giving me that badge. And actually, on the day of my nan's funeral, when I delivered her eulogy, which was one of the hardest things I'd ever done, I wore that with pride. I think the next time I'd love to wear that would be a wedding, my wedding. Just going to put that out there, so she's going to be with me. And she's always with me, wherever I am. I still, go in shops and I look around, and I still think, now I would love that. And when I'm out with mum, and I think to myself, now I would love that. When it's a bright sunny day, I look up at the sky, and I wonder what she'd be doing. And I wondered what she's doing up with the good Lord and my grandfather. Yeah, it's a bit emotional. But I wanted to capture this because it makes me feel so much better when I get it all out there. Because my family's hectic and there's always so much to sort out and hands on and get people sorted and get people feeling better. My mum and dad, honestly, my mum must be wore out at times of it. But I am truly blessed to have all those wonderful memories. That was just a short snippet of all that time. And I know I'm being greedy and selfish, but you know what? Why not? In my heart, it was still far too soon. I feel terrible for saying that. Because you know what? There are people out there who are losing loved ones, and they're young little kiddies, and people going through horrific accidents and one thing or another, but yet my nan was blessed to live such a long life, and that I'm eternally grateful. It doesn't stop my heart from breaking, but please don't take that the wrong way. And if you're still here, God bless. Thank you very much for sharing this with me. And to my dear Nanny, to Gwendoline, in this 5th of June 2025, she would have turned 99. And I'm going to celebrate it. I'm going to toast my nan's legacy. So I've booked the day off work and I'm going to take my mum out for lunch. And just mum and I are going to go for lunch. And we're going to toast Nan. So this coming week, my friends, I hope you have a good week. And anybody who is in a place of a nan or a granddad or a mum or a dad for you, and of course mum and dad, and all of those are great, amazing figures in your life. Never ever put off from telling them just what they mean to you. Love them and squeeze them tight and never ever let go. God bless. Thanks very much for being here. And until next time, thanks for your company. I look forward to seeing you real soon. Bye now.